Welcome. I'm Nina Griffin, and this is the Astrology and Magic channel. Today we'll talk about Bonatti's considerations 32 through 36. All of these deal with the malefic planets, which will be the subject of our talk today. First off, I wanted to say thank you to all of my patrons. I appreciate all of your wonderful support and feedback. I love chatting with you about astrology and magic. If you would like to join us, please go to patreon.com/Nina Griffin, and you'll get access to a lot of videos and other materials that are not available to the public, as well as certain other items that are available early to patrons. All right, now let's get started. So first, let me say a few words about the malefic planets. In traditional astrology, those are Mars and Saturn. Now, all the planets are qualitatively different. They have different personalities and different capabilities, kind of just like different people have different personalities, strengths, and weaknesses. Some planets are inherently helpful and others are inherently harmful. Now, if a malefic signifies something in a chart, that thing is usually harmed, all things being equal. So in a natal chart, if a malefic rules the second house of money, that is generally negative for that person's finances. However, there are many exceptions and exceptions to exceptions that we'll discuss today. The thing with malefic planets is that they're like wicked but powerful people. They must be in the most perfect condition with everything just to their liking so that they are more likely to be in a good mood and treat us better. Even when they are in great condition, they will bring a tincture of poison, as William Lilly put it, to our success. Now, Bonatti's considerations are a set of 146 aphorisms about astrology. Today we'll talk about a subset of those considerations, 32 through 36, which talk about the malefics to better understand how to interpret them in natal charts, in horary charts, as well as electional charts. So consideration 32 starts out by saying that if a malefic is the significator of something, whether it's in a natal chart or horary chart, if it's a ruler of a house that you are analyzing in any kind of horoscope, the outcome for that particular house or that matter will depend on the malefic's condition. If the malefic is in a good condition, it will help the matter. However, the trick is that a malefic has to be in very good condition in order to act well. After all, its inherent nature is to be a malefic and to ruin things. So here are some of the conditions that have to be present to have a strong or good malefic. Now, the malefic should be oriental, that is to say it should rise before the sun, and it should be in its domicile or exaltation, and not afflicted by the other malefic by aspect. According to Bonatti, such a malefic is far better than a retrograde and afflicted benefic planet. Now, this is all true. Nonetheless, a malefic has to be just about perfect in condition in order to act well, and even then, they don't always act exactly perfectly. They are still malefics at heart. Consideration 33 tells us that if a malefic is a significator of a matter or of a house, and it's impeded by another malefic, in other words, if it's making a bad aspect to another malefic, or it's making a hard aspect to the ruler of the ascendant or the moon, then the malefic will perfect the purpose, but it will not be good. It will instead be destroyed after it seemed to be arranged and is believed to be perfected. So in other words, if it is making a difficult aspect to the ruler of the ascendant, which usually means the querent in a horary, or the person's body or vitality or essence in a natal chart, or the moon, then the malefic, again, can be relied upon to do something, but it's not going to be a particularly good or favorable outcome. You might get what you want, but maybe you'll wish you hadn't gotten it. Now, if the impeding malefic is lighter, meaning if it's faster than the malefic that's a significator, so that it applies to the significating malefic, this is less of a problem than the reverse. So in other words, if your significator is Saturn and Mars is aspecting it, say from a square or a similar difficult aspect, then what you're going to get is a slightly less bad situation than if the shoe is on the other foot, right? So if, on the other hand, your significator is Mars and it's just about to square Saturn, that is more of a problem because it means that you, the person, might be heading toward the problem rather than something that's coming from the outside and could potentially at least be stopped. Now, consideration 34 says that if a malefic is a significator and it also rules the ascendant and it is in the ascendant if it's direct, unafflicted by aspect, direct and in good condition. In other words, it has to be in domicile or exaltation. If so, it will perfect the matter and make it arrive to a good outcome. Now, this particular aphorism, or this consideration, primarily deals with horary or electional charts. In other words, it's okay to have a malefic in the ascendant. However, it's best if it rules the ascendant, if it's strong by sign, and if nothing is wrong with it at all. The other sort of extra condition here is that even if this malefic doesn't rule the ascendant, but it's exalted in the ascendant, Bonatti says that it will put down all of its malice and it will not impede the matter. Now, if it is impeded, it will increase its malice and harm, and it will try in every way to destroy the business. So in other words, even if you have an exalted malefic in the ascendant, but it's also, say, square the other malefic, then we're kind of back to the original condition of the malefic, that it's a problem. So as you can see, there are conditions and subconditions and exceptions to every rule. Now, in consideration number 35, we learn a little bit more about what a malefic is when it's well behaved. According to Henry Coley's translation of this consideration, he says that a malefic in a sign of his nature and dignities is like a cross fellow when pleased and when he has what he will. The planet is going to be more upright, more merciful, and less malicious. Now, it is also good if Saturn is in Capricorn, Aquarius, or Libra. In other words, he's in his domicile or exaltation, or if he's in a cold sign where he has some dignity. It's very bad if Saturn is in a hot sign outside of his dignities. Same thing with Mars. Mars likes being in Aries, Scorpio, or Capricorn, or in hot signs where he has some dignity. It's particularly bad if he's in a cold sign outside of his dignities. Cancer would be one of those. Now, if a malefic is strong and well placed, or in a sign with whose temperament they agree, the malefic and the sign are said to mix well, like water with wine or like milk with honey. And as far as theory goes, that's fine, but the reality is, this is just from my own experience, that malefics need to be in a major dignity, sign or exaltation, to act well, and of course be unafflicted, as I explained. Just because there's a hot or cold temperament match with a sign, that's not going to do it. Malefics, again, are inherently difficult, so they have to be in tip-top condition in order to actually perform and do well for us. That is why they're malefics. They need nearly perfect conditions to behave reasonably well. Now, consideration 36 says that if a malefic impedes your significator, if there's a bad aspect, but there's also a benefic planet that makes a trine or a sextile to the significator, the malefic's ill nature is allayed and mitigated, especially if the benefics receive the malefics. At least that's according to the Bendike's translation. I think, in my experience, it's much more useful if the malefic receives the benefic, because then it means that the benefic is treated as an honored guest, and the benefic's wishes, which of course are beneficial and positive, are acceded to by the malefic. However, this is not what the text says, so I just want to point out my experience versus what the text actually tells us. So one of the ways that you can use this particular set of aphorisms or considerations is when you're looking at a horary chart and you see that the thing that you want, whether it's a job or money or whatever it is that you're looking at in the chart, it's signified by a malefic. Usually it means that the thing that you want has some serious problems with it. There's something, there's something at issue there. Now you have to use your judgment. You have to look at its essential and accidental dignities, any kind of aspects, helping or harmful aspects, to determine whether that malefic is going to act according to its usual MO, negatively, or whether it's going to act reasonably positively. The truth is that malefics, even when they are in perfect condition, as I've explained, they will have that tincture of poison, right? Success will either come partially, you'll get less than you may deserve. It will come maybe too slowly. This is especially true if Saturn is involved. It may come in a way that is not exactly the way that you had hoped. One of the things that we sometimes see is people who have really strong malefics as significators in their natal charts of money. But there are certain kinds of afflictions that can mean the person makes lots of money, but it's made in an illegal or dishonest or immoral way. And so there are many things that the malefics can ruin even when they're strong. so we have to look at it in context and, frankly, with a lot of experience and judgment. Alright, I hope you found this video helpful. I'm Nina Griffin, and this is the Astrology and Magic channel.